In Europe, perhaps, yes. But then, for example, in the United States, you have somebody who wants to be courted in a way, and there's still no trade agreement between India and the US. So does the US understand the rationale of Indian foreign policy?
Well, look, every country comes at the world from their history, from their national interest, from their, you can say, culture and argumentation. I think I would imagine that the US understands that India is a very, very independent country, which will make decisions which are driven entirely by Indian interest.
Do they really? Because the US claimed that your tariffs on US products would go down to 0%.
Well, we are in the middle of a trade negotiation right now. Okay? It's still being negotiated. So we have to wait and see at the end of this all, what happens. In the middle of a negotiation, we at least don't give interim readouts. So where the trade negotiation will end up, what kind of mutuality or benefits there are, because you have a trade understanding or agreement when it works for both parties. Okay, so it has to work for us too, just like it has to work for them. So don't jump the gun, be patient. My sense is, if the negotiations which are going on right now, if they do lead to a result, we will see the mutuality of that.
You are confident that they will, and soon, because economies are hurting because of the sanctions?
Well, look, diplomacy is always a profession of possibilities. When you enter a negotiation, you enter it with the idea of having an outcome. You don't enter it saying, I will not have an outcome. So obviously, and I know, as someone who has an inside knowledge of that particular negotiation, that we've had multiple rounds. Right now, I know it's something which has gone down to very deep detail. So we're not talking a kind of a headlines, big picture agreement here. These are professional trade negotiators who are looking at very sort of fine detail. We have a very, I know our negotiating team. I have very high respect for them. We have, by the way, just concluded a free trade agreement with the UK.
Yeah.
Okay. So these things,
but so has the United States, and they are very vocal about their negotiations with China, for example. We've seen this weekend Trump in the Gulf region. Mr. Trump seems to be looking for deliverables. So the fact that he doesn't even mention the trade agreement with India, does that worry you?
No, because, look, the trade agreement with India hasn't happened. It's under negotiation. So do be patient. When the negotiations are over, an outcome will emerge. But again, look, different countries come at it differently. The UK-US trade agreement is not comparable to the trade agreement with India and UK have had. We had a trade agreement which were negotiated over multiple months, in fact multiple years, over multiple governments on the UK side. It's a very, very detailed agreement running to I would say, a very thick level of detail. So I think each one of us will handle it from the perspective of how they do their negotiations. We like to do detailed, specific trade negotiations which produce balanced outcomes. For us, a trade agreement, a trade deal has to be a deal which works for both parties. And if that takes however long, we do it.
Now, when it comes to means of negotiating or ways of negotiating, the role of Mr. Trump is interesting also in another way. He claimed, for example, that he solved the recent flare-up in the violence between India and Pakistan. How do you see his role?
Look, I think where we had the recent fighting between India and Pakistan, first of all, you got to understand what it was about. Okay, it started because it was triggered by a very barbaric terrorist attack in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, where 26 tourists were murdered in front of their families after ascertaining their faith. And it was done in a way in which it was intended to harm tourism, which is the mainstay of the Kashmir economy, and to create a religious discord. Deliberately an element of religion was introduced. And to understand that, you've got to also see that on the Pakistani side, you have a Pakistani leadership, especially their army chief, who's very driven by extreme religious outlook. So there is clearly some connect between, the views that were expressed and the behavior that was done. Sorry?
Did you catch the ones that murdered those 26 tourists?
I think we were able to identify who they were because there were pictures of them. The attack, there was a body which called the Resistance Front, which took responsibility for that attack. And that's a body which has been on our radar for a number of years. In 2023, 24, and 25, we brought this body to the attention of the UN Security Council's 1267 Sanctions Committee. And we said, look, we see this as a body which has been created by the Lashkar. Lashkar is the main terrorist group in Pakistan, one of the two main terrorist groups. And we can see the connection. So we had, well before the April 22nd attack, we had already drawn this to the attention of the United Nations. Now, we identified the people, the attackers. We know that they are linked to the Lashkar. We know the command centers of the terrorist groups, okay? It's not a secret. In fact, I should show you. We have, if you look at the UN Security Council, UN Security Council publishes regularly a kind of list of major terrorists, okay? So it looks like something like this. This is the UN. It says the list established and maintained pursuant to UN Security Council Resolution 1267, whatever. Now, if you go through this list, these very places, the terrorist list, these are famous, well-known terrorists, notorious terrorists. They have a place of residence. It says they operate out of here. Okay. I mean, there's a whole list of these guys. Now, these are the very places which are named in this. These are the ones which we hit on the 7th of May.